Is this nothing more than an overreaction as we see Tesla right now in pre-market is down 8.12%. We look at the fear and greed index. We are now sitting in neutral territory. Are we to swing back into greedy territory, or are we on our way back over to fear? We take a look at the economic calendar today. We have a lot of PMI over here in Europe. Then this morning, the Bank of Canada has their interest rate decision. At 9:45, we have flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI. 10 a.m., we have new home sales. And let's not forget, we have crude inventory numbers at 10:30 as well. So the question we have to ask ourselves, is this nothing more than an overreaction? Is this a buying opportunity in the market? Or is this going to be the push that actually gets us down here, filling the gap from Sunday night? Because if you look, the S&P hasn't filled the gap, but the NASDAQ has already filled the gap. But now we have a problem. There is a large gap that was left behind from last night. So should we be looking for a bounce this morning like I did last night? And I'm going to warn you guys, I dropped it in the community post. The trade from last night's stream simply did not go as planned. So when we look at this article right here, this sums it up the best. Tesla, Alphabet disappoint investors. If we come over and look at Google in pre-market, Google is down 3.55%. And as you can see, we still have a lot of earnings. After the bell, Chipotle, and I think I might go to Chipotle for lunch today. Ford, IBM, so we're still in the midst of earnings season. If we look at the big expected movers, IBM is expected to move plus or minus 6%. Let's go check on Tesla though. Tesla was expected to move plus or minus 9%. And we jump over and we look at a chart of Tesla. Now, when we look at Tesla in pre-market, we're down 8.3%. And that's very close towards that 9% level. However, we thought this could be a potential bull flag pattern, but now that we've broken out below the swing point, what does that mean moving forward? We can see Tesla has already filled one gap. Is it about to come down here and fill the next gap? If this area of the profile does not stop it, watch out. We're probably coming all the way down to 205.80. But I got to warn you guys, where we are within the volume profile is an area where I would expect Tesla to potentially get a bounce. But then as we pull our Fibonacci retracement, we measure from swing low up here to the swing high. You can see where Tesla is at right now is right between the 38 and the 50% Fibonacci levels. I think it's more probable that we come down to the 50% retracement or even deeper down towards the 61.8. Then as we take a look at Google, we can see that we could have a potential ABC pattern on the way down. I warned you guys yesterday that we had a shooting star type of candle, and now we've already broken below the B point. So for this, we want to grab our Fibonacci extension tool. We measure the down leg, the A to B leg. The B to C leg is the corrective leg, and that brings us right down here to about 170.24. However, something we do want to pay attention to is if we look a little bit lower, we have this minus development area within the profile. Then when we look left, we have this large gap over here as well. So we got to ask ourselves, this large gap was produced from the last earnings. What do? We pull back slightly and we continue to rally up. So now that we are gapping down today after earnings, are we maybe going to get a bounce up? And now we're going to start to head substantially lower from where we are trading at this moment. That is a very real possibility that we most certainly want to pay close attention to. If we look at some of the other AI stocks like Nvidia, down 1.62%. We take a look at SMCI in pre-market, down 1.24%. We take a look at Microsoft in pre-market, down 0.76%. And we're going to see, is this going to spread to other stocks and even potentially other sectors? We know AI has been leading the rally on the way up. And as we come over and look at the dollar index in pre-market, the dollar index is down 14 cents, which a weaker dollar normally favors the bulls in the market. Then as we look at the 10-year yield, the 10-year yield is also down at the moment, which also should favor the bulls in the market. But when we come over and we look at the watch list, we can see all the futures are currently in the red, with the NASDAQ leading the way down 1.12%. Then as we jump over and we take a look at the precious metal gold, gold is still on the move up, bouncing off that 50% level. And I want to remind you guys, if we can take out the all-time high, the swing point right up here, that would go ahead and confirm the ABC pattern on the way up. And that would give us a price target of 2570.1. Now, let me know in the comment section down below, do you guys think we are going to close green or are we going to close red today? Is this overnight selling nothing more than a buying opportunity in the market, or is this time to get short? And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below and give the video a big thumbs up. So now as we come over and we look at the QQQs real quick on the daily chart, you can see we're right near the lower swing point. Now I was looking for a little bit more of a lift up to kind of form that right shoulder. If this is all we're going to get for a right shoulder, this is kind of pathetic. I'd like to see it. I would have liked to have seen it built out a little bit more, which we still could do. Left shoulder, head, potentially right shoulder over here. And if that's not going to go ahead and transpire, then we can map this out as a potential A to B equals C to D pattern on the way down. And that would give us a price projection down here about 454. If you look at the MACD indicator, extremely weak at this moment. We have a bearish separation in between the lines, and we're headed down towards the zero line. Now, if we were to come down and actually complete the ABC pattern to the downside, that would be a price drop of about 10%. And I warned you guys a few videos back, is this going to be a 10% correction, or is this going to fall in line with about a 5% correction or so? Then as we look at the 1 hour chart, we see the MACD indicator had a bullish cross and tried to make it up towards the zero line. But now look, we have that gap that was left behind from Monday. Now that gap has been filled, but now we're gonna have a problem because we still have a gap left behind from last week. And if we gap down lower again today, that is going to be a second gap to the downside. And should we go ahead and try to fade the gap this morning? I want to make everybody aware, Apex 7 a massive 80% sale off all their valuation accounts, pass in as little as 1 day. And you can also get a 150K account for only $40. You get a 250K account for only $40. And you get a 300K account for only $40. So if you want to take advantage of this offer, use the link in the description box down below and use the promo code Mike at checkout. And as we look at the 30-minute chart, we basically had a D as in dog shape profile. Now, value area low comes in about 481.03. The point of control comes in about 481.70. Value area high will come in at 482.87. Well, we can see we are clearly trading all the way below yesterday's value areas, yesterday's low. We made it all the way down here, filling the gap to the downside. Now the question is, do we start fading this on the way up? Here's what I'm going to say. If you're an aggressive trader, then what I'd really prefer to see, can we break the swing low right over here that was set a few days back and then potentially start coming back above it? Now that swing low will come in about 473.88. If we get below it, then we can come back up above it. Then it makes sense trying to go ahead and play for that gap to be filled. However, I would use this swing point right here as target number 1. And I'm actually going to say anywhere from candle body down to the candle wick is an area I would want to target if I was playing for a bounce on the way up. And think about it. Anybody that is long here probably has stops right below this level. So we can get a quick flush down and then we'll see, do the bulls step back in and try to buy the market up higher? Then as we come over and look at the NASDAQ, what do we see? Well, we're almost all the way back over here towards the lows. We filled the gap from Sunday night. Now the question is, how low are we likely to go? If you look down here, we do have an untested point of control down here, but let's not forget that minus development area within the profile that was set a few weeks back. We're almost at the upper part of that area. Then I do believe we're probably going to fill back in this area. Now I know it's taken extremely a long time, but now that we're getting close, this is an area I would most certainly want to focus on in terms of targets to the downside. 19,626 to about 19,540. And what you'll notice also is that brings us right into this minus development area. Now, the first time we come into it, normally we get a bounce, which is what we did right here. Now, as we come back into it, we'll probably get a little bit of a deeper movement into that area. And then we'll see, do we bounce back up towards this high volume area and go ahead and continue higher? As we look at the daily profiles, we're forming a B as in boy shape profile at this moment. And you can see the overnight range is almost 200 points. Now, anytime we go down in Asia, we go down in London, it's highly susceptible to get a bounce sometime during the New York session. So we need to be on high alert for that bounce. And ideally, I'd love to see nothing more than see this low flushed out and then we bounce back up. That would be ideal. And then that's why the overnight volume profile levels are going to be very valuable this morning, because you can see we are miles below yesterday's value area low. Now, as we come over and look at the SPY, you can see, what do? We went down, we came up to the 50% retracement. Now we're rolling over. We're almost all the way back over here towards the swing point. Now, one area to focus on is we do have a high volume area. We have two of them, 554.71 and one a little bit closer, about 547.71. Now with this, we can also grab our Fibonacci extension tool, measure A to B, B to C, and that gives us a price projection down here about 539.22. Now, if indeed we break this B point, that would go ahead and validate that pattern. If we made it all the way down to the 100% level, that would only be a 5% correction. And again, the S&P loves to correct 5%, probably 2 to 3 times per year. And every 12 to 18 months, we normally have a 10% correction. Now, is this going to be the 5% correction or the 10% correction? Keep in mind, there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of the elections coming up. We come over and look at the profiles. Notice we're getting right into potentially filling the gap that we had out here from Monday. If you look at the volume profile levels, value area low is 554.24. The point of control is 555.04. Value area high is 556.11. Now notice we gap below yesterday's low. We gap below the day before's low. So how do I want to play this? Similar to what I talked about with the NASDAQ. If you're really looking to fade the gap, ideally, I'd like to see the lows out here taken out from Friday and then start coming back up. In that event, we could play for this structure breakdown point right over here, which either way, I think this level is likely going to get hit in the very near future. If not today, probably tomorrow or the following day. And that zone is anywhere from about 551.72 to about 551.04. I'm going to have my eyes on that level. But if you look at the 30-minute chart, you can see yesterday we already started to roll over on the MACD indicator. Then as we come over and we look at the weekly volume profile levels, this was an area we were watching earlier in the week. What do? Well, one test, we shot down, came back up, we wicked above it, boom, on the way down. And here you can see the gap from last night sitting right over here. Are we about to flush down towards 5530.50, which is that untested point of control? Keep in mind, you can see we've had substantial bars on the way down. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the last 4-hour candles have been to the downside. At some point, we will get a bounce in this market. Then as we come over and look at the daily profiles, notice we have that point of control right down here at 5549.25. That also brings us right here near filling the gap. Now, I've told you guys this time and time again, especially if you've been on the live streams at night. Whenever we gap up on Sunday night, that gap normally will fill by Wednesday. If not, it'll fill by Thursday. And if it doesn't fill by Thursday, then normally it'll be a few weeks before we come back and visit that level. Well, here we are. We're on Wednesday and we are very close to filling that Sunday night gap out here. Now, the problem is we also set a gap last night. And since we've gapped down, we've continued to go lower. That really increases the probabilities that we are likely going to get a bounce sometime during the New York session. Now, a bounce does not mean this gap is going to come all the way up and get filled. That's why it's going to be very, very important that we pay attention to the overnight volume profile levels, because right now we're miles and miles away from yesterday's value area low. So ideally what we're looking for this morning, let's see, can we take out the point of control? Then can we go ahead and maybe pop back up? Now, ideally, I'd like to see the lows taken out from the swing point right over here. And I wouldn't even mind it. I'm going to be honest with you. If we flush down really hard right at the open down to 55.30, take out that point of control, then if we can get back above the swing point, then I want to go ahead and play for some of those upside targets to the upside. Keep in mind, as we come over and look at the overnight volume profile levels, it's going to be important. Where are we trading in relations to value area high and value area low? Right now, we're sitting at the overnight value area low, but that level is not yet matured. Now, as we look, we continue to see the markets melting lower, the S&P 500 filling the gap to the downside. So where are some other key levels below us? I want to go ahead and pull up Bookmap. If you guys want to check out Bookmap, you guys can save 20% by using the link in the description box down below. But we have a little bit of buy orders sitting down here at 5536.50, and then another order that's been out there for quite a while. Look at this order down here, 5525. If we zoom this out, this order has been out there ever since about 8:14 in the morning. That most certainly is something I want to pay close attention to moving forward. So if we do start substantially flushing lower at the open, pay attention to those levels. Now, you can see we've already been able to take out the gap up from Sunday night. Then as we come over and look at the overnight volume profile levels, we have value area low coming at 5548.00. The point of control coming at 5560.50. Value area high will be 5571.00. Now, if we can get back above value area low, then I do want to target that point of control and even value area high. If we stay below it, then watch out for some of those levels that we just talked about when we're looking at the Bookmap charts. Then we come over and look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, we've had a 275-point overnight range. Value area low coming at 19,625.75. The point of control coming at 19,726.25. Value area high coming at 19,772.75. So how do I want to play this? Well, one, if we start getting back above value area low, then yes, I want to look for a rotation up. However, instead of going all the way towards the point of control, I would prefer to target this area right here. And that's going to be anywhere from about 19,682 to about 19,690. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this area for me. And let's see, do we get an interaction with that level, or do we continue to cascade lower throughout the day? And if you guys want to learn how to trade volume profile using order flow, watch this video right here.